Hello everyone, boys, girls, cats, and squirrels. I'm your host, Critical Switch Gamer, and today is a beautiful day, not only because we're taking a look back at a classic video game, but because I am back to YouTube and in full force and ready to start making videos for you. So that being said, please leave what you think about today's video in the comment section below. Today we are taking a look back at a game that I hold near and dear to my heart, and many consider it to be one of the best licensed video games of all time. I'm talking, of course, about the Simpsons Hit and Run. Hot off the success of Simpsons Road Rage, Radical Entertainment was looking for the next big game. Famously, in one of their internal brainstorm meetings, one of the team stated, "Why can't we get out of the car and explore Springfield?" And the ball started rolling from there, and the engine for Road Rage was completely overhauled to fit their new design.
Holy macaroni!
In 2003, I was 9 years old when I first laid eyes on the commercial for the new game.
I am evil Homer.
And I knew I had to have it. I remember pointing directly at the TV and telling my mom, I want that game. Sure enough, within a couple of weeks, I had in my hand a copy of 100% pure grade Simpsons Gold. I sat down in front of my CRT and was treated to this eye candy. The best part about this intro is it jump cuts straight into the main menu. Devs really took the time to craft a cohesive Simpsons experience, and that's one of the reasons I love this game so much. You actually get to run around Springfield and be in this world. You get to go into Mr. Burns' mansion and look around. You get to go into Moe's Tavern in all of its greasy glory. It actually reminds me of the Simpsons part of Orlando Studios. The story kicks off with Homer watching TV, of course, and Krusty the Clown advertises a new and improved Buzz Cola. Homer, being the slave to fatty foods and soft drinks, he rushes out the door to get himself a taste. When he walks out, you're in the game. Bart Simpson being our dedicated tutorial narrator, sort of like Bruce Campbell in the Spider-Man video games. You hop into the family car and head to the Quickie Mart. This sort of driving around the city is the bulk of Hit and Run's gameplay. Whether it be racing, trailing missions, or ramming your car into enemies, you'll be in a vehicle for a good chunk of the missions. And that's alright, because they have plenty of vehicles to unlock and drive around Springfield. In fact, buying cars and costumes with coins you find can give you hours of gameplay alone. I'll have to admit, while some missions make sense in the context of the show, like Homer borrowing Flanders' family photo and his son's inhaler, some are obvious filler to pad out the game with more things to do, leaving some stages more monotonous than others. They also have collectibles sprinkled around the world, some being cards with references to episodes that you can view in the pause menu, and other being just humorous interactions with objects. There's no shortage of humor and funny quips here. Speaking of humor, the voice acting is spot on, with all the cast returning and showing full range for the game.
Need your card from the war.
The war? What, is the Kaiser at it again? I'll teach him. He stole my best girl and my best box of saltwater taffy.
But not everything is perfect, of course. Many things have not aged gracefully over the 16 years since its release. The character models can sometimes look downright creepy, not to mention the way characters just sort of stand there when you talk to them. Or kick them. Look at the way Marge reacts when I kick her down the street.
Oh, this is so bad for my posture.
Why, you little...
Which brings us to another interesting aspect of the game, the hit and run system. When you bump into objects or just decide to go on a rampage and mow down NPCs on the sidewalk, a meter around your map will begin to fill, until eventually,
What were you thinking, son?
you get a hit and run. Cops will chase you until you either lose them and they give up, or you get cornered. I used to have so much fun running from the police when I was younger. Of course, I would also put in the honk to jump sheet beforehand. Now this was cool. You could jump super high in the air and get real bird's eye view of the town, and even get into some spots you weren't meant to explore. But anyways, back to the story. After Homer has a day of doing chores and helping his family, he notices a mysterious black van spying on his house. He tracks it down to Mr. Burns' mansion where he confronts him, but Burns reveals that these are simply pizza delivery vans, and he promptly fires and chases Homer off with his dogs.
Smithers, release the hounds.
The next day, Bart skips school in search of a new video game, Bone Storm 2.
You want excitement? Shove this up your stocking! So tell your folks, buy me, Bone Storm, or go to hell!
Buy me, Bone Storm, or go to hell!
We take control of Bart in this chapter and help other friends and family with missions while looking for the game. Bart's section is especially rad because we get to explore the downtown part of the city and even relive famous moments from the show, like stealing the head of the statue. As you play missions and side content, you'll be led to Professor Fink, who lets us have a peek at his new Truckosaurus he's been working on. Only, of course, after we helped him with a couple of tasks. Bart is subsequently attacked by it during this preview event. But while escaping, he's pulled up into some strange green light. This in turn leads us to Lisa's section of the game, which has such personality with the afternoon sunset in the distance, and the jazz solo playing during the slower moments, making it definingly Lisa. Speaking of music, each character has an assortment of tunes that match their personalities. Homer having heavier baritones and tubas, while Bart has some sweet guitar riffs. I know these sort of details are expected in games today, but man, it just fits so perfectly. The way they play the original theme with slower tempos and different instruments just make me want to jam out all day while working. In fact, I did, all day yesterday. Some missions in this chapter can be very frustrating though. I swear the traffic literally jumps out at you. Here's a joke that hasn't aged well.
I don't know. Maybe I'd go faster if I took my pants off. What do you think?
My dude, you were in a car with an 8-year-old, asking if it's okay to take off your pants.
Right!
The story for Lisa's section is basically looking for Bart after his disappearance. She follows the same black vans Homer was investigating, and surprise, it turns out they did have something to do with all of this. Lisa ends up finding Bart on a boat, but can't understand what he's saying because his brain seems to be fried.
Kiss my grits.
He also soils his pants. The stage variation takes a nosedive in the next chapter, because we're back in the same part of Springfield that Homer had, except they just sort of changed the time of day. And they actually repeat this several times throughout the playthrough. The game definitely could have benefited from having more locations. That's why I actually disagree with most people's sentiment of just remaster Hit and Run and it would be perfect. Sure, the game was great for its time and I still love replaying it to this day, but for a new release in 2019, they'd have to overhaul basically the whole mission structure. Probably take some cues from Donut Team, the group of passionate modders that have already fixed numerous bugs. They've added characters and missions and new maps to the PC port of the game. They've even gone as far as to add multiplayer to it. These guys really went all out. Moving on to Marge's section, she decides to take matters into her own hands because of what they did to her son. She starts asking people about the crop circles that have been appearing all over the town. I'd say this chapter is where the difficulty really ramps up. Some missions are just downright annoying with how precise you need to be with driving. And some are just downright unfair.
Do my
Okay,
best.
so I have to race the car. Whoa, what the fuck? The search leads her to Grandpa Simpson, who actually has helpful advice after you give him his meds. He explains that the crop circles are actually the logo for Buzz Cola. Finding out the truth of this mind control agent, Marge suits up to take down the shipment of Buzz Cola. But despite her best efforts, mainstream popularity continues. Now we're going to Apu's section, who is stricken with remorse after selling this evil product.
I have been selling tainted cola. Unless I redeem myself, I will be reincarnated as a sea cucumber, or worse, a land cucumber.
Once again, we're trekking over familiar territory in this section. Actually, I'd say the only other interesting area to explore after we've been through the first 3 chapters would be the final chapter, because it changes things up a good bit. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. Apu's story sees him tracking down more leads in the investigation of Buzz Cola. Snake Jailbird tips him off about the vans being registered to the Museum of Natural History. With Bart's help, they infiltrate the museum and find that the source is actually, it's aliens. Yeah, it's these two. Is it really that surprising?
I like it.
They're actually using the bees to film the town for an intergalactic TV show.
I like it.
They're using the cola to cause people to go crazy. This makes their ratings skyrocket.
I like it.
Apu says, nope, not touching that one, and leaves Bart to do something about it. Fuck this whole part, just because of this bullshit mission. This mission might just ruin the whole game. You're expected to go 100 miles per hour and literally thread the needle through NPCs, or else the cops will absolutely fuck your shit. And then you have seconds, and I mean seconds, to get all the way back, and your goddamn vehicle gets stuck on every little thing. Skip! Bart couldn't stop the aliens from poisoning the water supply. This also causes it to seep into the ground and cause zombies to rise up. Yep, this is happening. Alright, now we're here at the final chapter, which I'd say is most nostalgic for me, because I would just sort of never finish the game at this point, and ride around and interact and jump on stuff. It was so cool to me back in the day. I don't know why, just the Halloween aesthetic and costumes. Basically everything in this chapter is different, but imagine if every chapter was like that. It would just be cool. They kind of repeat the same mission over and over through this section, just going back and forth to and from the power plant. Alright, so Homer tracks a probe for the aliens to the power plant, where the professor has found a weakness for the enemy. Nuclear waste. You know, I'm actually pretty weak to that myself. The next couple of missions have you transporting nuclear waste to and from the ship over and over again. And it's okay the first couple times you do it, but the very last time you do it is so annoying, because you literally have seconds, again, seconds, to get to one side of the map all the way to the other side of the map. I probably sat here for 30 minutes trying to do this mission over and over again, and I just said fuck it. Once you transport enough nuclear waste to the ship, it actually explodes. The next day, everything seems to be back to normal. Except Homer has to live with the fact that he's a murderer, and his life will never be the same. Just kidding, he's a hero. You know, revisiting this game has actually made me remember a lot about it. The good and the bad. And I actually miss when licensed video games were just something viable for a company to make. I just wish some companies would actually take the risk and hire good developers to make a good game that many people will remember years in the future. Or you can make the Family Guy video game.